My fiance, 25, and I, 22F, are getting married in October. My future mother-in-law is a plant freak and their entire property looks like something out of a garden magazine. Cobblestone paths, fountains, statues, shaped bushes, and some of the most beautiful plants and trees I've ever seen, including willow and cherry blossom trees. We're getting married in the middle of a meadow towards the center of their property, and it's going to be gorgeous. My brother Justin has been dating Sarah for 6 years, and they got engaged a few months ago. I'm not close with Sarah because they live across the state and only come down here for holidays and events. Sarah uses a prosthetic leg, and apparently lately it's been getting to be too much for her, so she's been using a wheelchair. He texted me asking if the property was wheelchair accessible, and I said I didn't know and would let him know what I found out. There aren't any stairs, but the property has different sections with grass, cobblestone, gravel, and dirt, and since I don't use a wheelchair, I don't know how well they are at getting around in terrain like that. We went over to my in-laws to go over the ceremony and reception space and see how difficult it might be for Sarah. I texted my brother to let him know about the terrain. He asked if the reception was in the house, and I said no, we were having a tent set up. He asked if we were putting that party tent flooring down, and I said no. We looked into it, but it was out of our budget, and everything will look nicer in the grass anyways. He asked if we would have one set up anyways because the grass would be too hard for Sarah to wheel over, and I apologized and told him it was out of our budget by thousands. He told me that if we wouldn't do that, Sarah couldn't come and we'd be excluding her. I said that it was unfortunate, and if that was the case, we'd miss her at our wedding. He called me ableist and discriminatory and said that if we wouldn't accommodate her, then he wouldn't come to our wedding either. Not even a goddamn hour later, I got a text from my mom saying that I was being mean to my brother and Sarah and that it wouldn't be a good look for me if I decided not to do such a simple thing. She told me that I could handle renting one of those tent patios since we didn't pay for a venue and DY'd a lot of our wedding. I said I was sorry and gave my reasoning again. She told me that if we excluded Sarah, they'd pull their contribution to our wedding. I'm not sure how exactly since they paid for our dresses, and those were paid for weeks ago. I told her that if her and my brother wanted to but that I'd be more than happy to speak to my mother-in-law about having one put down. She said no. Her and Dad are retired and Justin has his own wedding to pay for. I feel bad for excluding Sarah, but I'm not sure what else I can do.
Comment 1. Most wheelchairs will be fine in grass, and yes, gravel sucks, but a wheelchair can go through that too. She probably can't wheel herself around, but she sure can be pushed around in grass. She can also use her prosthetic leg and have dedicated chairs around so she doesn't need to stand or walk for long. I have plenty of experiences with wheelchairs and, as it happens, with prosthetic legs. Sarah is being difficult and refuses to compromise. It's a huge shame your mom won't see this. She is being used to bully you to spend thousands on adjustments for Sarah's comfort. It's almost as if Sarah wants you to exclude her and to get herself tons of attention and sympathy at your cost. Comment 2. NTA. As one who pushed his, late, wheelchair-bound wife for many hundreds of miles, I think I can present a valid opinion. A normal wheelchair, not a transport chair with all small wheels, can be pushed on grassy surfaces with some effort if, of course, the terrain isn't super muddy and soft. And a gravel path shouldn't be that big a deal either. If we're not talking huge distances on the grass, this shouldn't be more than an inconvenience. Comment 2. NTA. If wheelchair accessibility was a contingency of their wedding contribution, they should have stated that before you picked a venue. In this scenario, your mom is the R. I can't fault your brother or Sarah for their part, but your mom using their money as a bargaining chip is diabolical. I have been married to my wife, 35F, for 10 years. We have 2 children, 8F and 5M. We have had good times and bad times in our relationship, but we have always managed to get through it together. Until last weekend, now I am questioning everything. Lately, she has been watching way too many prank videos on YouTube. She finds them all very funny, so she started trying to play pranks on me and the kids. Most of them were harmless and funny until last weekend when she took it too far. We celebrated our anniversary by going out to eat at a nice restaurant. She seemed absent for most of the evening, and I didn't pay attention. While she was waiting for our meal, she suddenly stood up and started screaming that I was choking her. She was holding her throat, tripping and falling to the ground, pretending to choke. Everyone in the restaurant turned to look at us. I was in shock and trying to figure out what was going on. A few people came over to try to help her, and I just stood there, unable to understand. Then she started laughing and said, "I'm kidding." I was mortified and so angry. The kids were crying, the other customers were staring at us, and the manager came over to see what was wrong. I couldn't believe she thought it was funny. I was so embarrassed and angry. Our kids were upset, the other customers were disgusted by what had happened, and the manager wanted to know what was going on. How could she have thought it was funny? I told her I had had enough and couldn't take any more pranks like this. I took the kids and left alone, leaving her at the restaurant. We went home. I packed a duffel bag for the kids and me and went to my brother's. She keeps calling and texting, saying I overreacted and that she was joking. I embarrassed her by leaving her there, and she thinks I owe her an apology. Our friends are divided. Some think I was right to leave, and others think I should have handled the situation differently. Comment 1. NTA. Joking about abuse is completely unacceptable, and she did it in front of young kids, which makes it worse. I don't even understand why she thinks that would be funny. The fact that that's even something she thinks is funny to joke about is a massive red flag. I would be telling her either she stops the jokes for good or I want a separation. Then she needs therapy before getting back together again. Comment 2. Call the restaurant and see if you can get a copy of the CCTV footage so you can have it for court. She accused you of assaulting her. You could have been injured or killed by another person if they believed her. She did this in front of your young children. And even after all that, she hasn't apologized. She has doubled down and told you that she was embarrassed by you leaving her. She isn't safe to be around. Get the footage. Use it in court when you inevitably divorce to get custody. I'll get right to it. My 24F brother, Connor, 27M, and his fiancée Christine, 27F, are getting married in early 2025. They got engaged a few months ago and have recently sent out wedding invitations. My mom is upset because she wasn't invited. Background info: we met Christine after she and Connor had been dating for around 8 months. That was a few years ago. Basically, my mom just didn't like her. After we met her, she'd constantly complain and criticize Christine. This would range from her looks to her job. Christine is a waitress, and she isn't good enough for my son. I honestly don't get any of it. Christine and I became friends, and she's such a sweet person who wouldn't hurt a fly. Whenever Christine and Connor came over for dinner or an event, she wouldn't say anything to Christine, but she'd try to get Connor to always spend time with her instead of Christine. She always tried to one-up Christine as well. If she called Connor and he mentioned that Christine made dinner, her dinner was always better. If Christine had a gift for Connor, my mother always tried to say how her gift was better. Thankfully, my brother is not stupid and has realized this. To avoid starting family drama, he didn't condemn her loudly in front of everyone, but would always defend Christine if he heard her talking shit. He made it clear that if she kept badly about Christine all the time, he would go extremely low contact. That made her stop for a while, but since they announced their engagement, she's back to it again. Maybe she forgot. I do think it's because Connor is her son, and I know some mothers can be very clingy with their sons. I have a boyfriend, and I've never heard her say a bad word about him, so I do really think it's because Connor is her son and I am her daughter. I was at my mom's house yesterday, and my mom complained that she wasn't invited. She said Christine was stealing Connor from her. I told her Connor getting married didn't necessarily mean Christine was stealing him. Then I asked her what exactly she didn't like about Christine. It all really led back to the same thing: she's stealing my son. I told her that while she can't control how she feels, she can control her actions, and that talking about Christine like that was the reason she wasn't invited. I tried to say it gently, but she did not take it well. She tried to make excuses and say that it was fine and that it's just her venting to her family and friends, and that I was being inconsiderate of her feelings. I know how she feels about it, but I think those feelings aren't really an excuse for talking shit behind someone's back like that, and going out of your way to make it clear you dislike them. I know damn well I'm not the only person in the family who would agree with me. I told Connor about it, and he said I was right and that she needed a reality check. But it's been weighing on my mind. I can't stop thinking about it. What do you guys think? Comment 1. You're 100% right. Sounds like she's one of those creepy moms that think they should be the only girl ever for their son. There's literally groups about this shat. Her shat talk doesn't excuse anything. She's making excuses because she refuses to take accountability. And I would add into her that the way she's going at this, the son will likely also go no contact if she continues her bullshit. And if they plan to have any kids, she'll never get to see them. Your NTA. Comment 2. Mothers like this give me a serious case of the icks. I have 2 sons and just the thought of feeling so attached to my kid I was jealous of his partner makes me sick to my stomach. There's something fundamentally wrong with women who do this kind of thing and then pretend they don't understand why the son and partner want nothing to do with them. She did this to herself and your NTA for telling her the truth, but I'm afraid it was a waste of your breath. She's never going to see that she's been wrong all along and will play the victim for all it's worth. Sad and creepy at the same time. Comment 3. NTA. Mom needs a wake-up call or she'll miss out on seeing her grandkids as well as her son. Her job was to raise a boy who would become an independent adult living his own life. She has succeeded. But she is sabotaging herself. Never mind being the asshole, you were pushing in the right direction. Unfortunately, it sounds like you have more work to do, given her lack of understanding. My son, we'll call him Jake, 23, has always been an independent and hard-working guy. After graduating college, he moved out, got a decent job, and seemed to be doing well for himself. A few months ago, he introduced me to his new girlfriend, we'll call her Emily. She seemed nice enough at first, but over time, I started noticing some red flags. She quit her job shortly after they started dating, claiming she wanted to find something better, but hasn't made much of an effort to look. She also has a bit of a spending problem, always wanting to go out to expensive restaurants and buy new clothes, despite not having a steady income. Recently, Jake came to me with some news. Emily is pregnant, and they want to move back in with me to save money. They plan to get married and raise the baby together. I was taken aback. While I love my son and want to support him, I don't think moving in with me is the right solution. I worked hard to provide a stable home for Jake when he was growing up, and now that he's an adult, I believe he needs to learn how to handle his own responsibilities. I told Jake that while I'm excited to be a grandparent and will help out in other ways, they can't move in with me. I offered to help them find a more affordable place to live and promised to assist with some baby expenses, but I can't have them living under my roof. Emily was furious and accused me of not caring about their future. Jake seemed disappointed but understood my reasoning. Now, Emily has been posting on Facebook about how I'm abandoning them in their time of need, and some of our family members have reached out, saying I should let them move in temporarily. I feel bad, but I also believe that enabling them won't teach them the independence they need. Comment 1. NTA. Emily can be dependent on someone other than you. Since Emily is bad-mouthing you, reduce the amount of help you might otherwise have offered, fewer gifts and less babysitting, for instance, and try to focus more specifically on support that could help your son more than Emily. Don't do favors for people who are unkind to you. Tell your family members that Emily hasn't been working and isn't doing anything to support herself. But you would be happy to let your son and his GF know that they, the family members, want to help them with housing. Comment 2. I'd text Jake and family who oppose. I respect my son's decision to marry, settle down and have kids. That level of adulthood takes a lot of commitment by Jake and Emily that I'm happy to assist with. However, in my view, if they're at the point of doing this, they need to both work and be independent adults since they're both in good health and not facing an emergency. If any of you disagree and would like to buy them a house or share your home indefinitely, then please do. We had a potluck at work last week. I made this delicious brownie and cookie concoction with a caramel sauce. When I made it, my 2-year-old was by my side and helping as much as he could. When I put the dish out at the potluck, I added a sign that my son helped make it. I thought that was the right thing to do in case people had an issue with it. A co-worker who has made it known does not like kids. She has complained to HR about my kid being around at the end of the day for 15 to 30 minutes. This co-worker approached me and said that it wasn't fair that I made a dish that she wouldn't eat. I told her I just made the dish, I'm not concerned with who did and didn't eat it. She said that making a dish that wasn't made in a safe way and bringing it is not okay. I felt like providing the sign was enough to allow people to make their own decisions. She called me in a hole and I felt like she was blowing this way out of proportion.